Welcome to the group. After everyone, we are group 3, and I am Du Jiayong. They are my members, Zhang Yihua and Liang Yuanxiang. Today, our presentation topic is post-meeting evaluation. For the contact page, first I will talk about the vocabulary, then Yuanxiang and I will talk about the scenario 2. After that, I will give you some conversation exercise, and also we will have a listening practice. After the listening practice, I will give some vocabulary of listening practice, and then Yuanxiang will help us to have a activity 2. And after activity 2, Yihua will help us to talk about the high and low context culture, also the conclusions, the references, inside story, and job assignment. And after all these things finish, we will have a short break. And after a short break, we will have a comment time, feedback time, and finally, we will choose the best communicators. For the first vocabulary is observation. Can everyone repeat after me? Observations.
Observation.
The meaning of observation is the act of observing something or someone. And here is an example. Based on your observations, can you point anything out that we can change for better next time? Can everyone help me to read this?
Based on your observations, can you point anything out that we can change for better next time?
Thank you. And the next word is potentials. Can everyone repeat after me? Potential.
Potential.
The meaning of potential is possible when the necessary condition exists. And the example of the potential is as we expect more people for our next meeting where we will introduce our new product. I believe that might be potential issues. Everyone please come to repeat this sentence.
As we prepare for our next meeting, where we will introduce our new product, I believe there might be potential issues.
Thank you. So next is the scenario part. Yuanxiang and I will have a conversation, and the topic of the conversation is looking back and planning forward. We did that as a meeting, didn't we, Yuanxiang?
Yes, indeed, it's true.
Well, Yuanxiang, based on your observations, can you point anything out that we can change for the better next time?
For the most part, as you said, things went smoothly. But I do believe we have to prepare for better equipment for our guests.
I did notice that sometimes for Dr. Jones' presentation failed to get set up. What happened there?
Well, the laptop the company prepared did not have the version of the program we needed to properly display the file. We have to switch to Jimmy's personal laptop.
I see. Make sure everything is up to date from now on. Anything else?
Well, since we have guests from different parts of the world, we might have to pay more attention to their preferences.
Did anything go wrong?
Not really, but as we expect more people for our next meeting, where we will introduce our new product, I believe there might be potential issues.
Yes, we want to provide meals or snacks that are suitable to all the guests. We did a good job on asking people about vegetarian preference and allergies this time.
I think some guests might also have foods they would prefer or decline due to religious reasons.
Good point. When we send our invitation next time, we can explicitly ask them if there is any they cannot eat. That makes things easier.
And I think we might need more people giving directions by the elevator door. We just had Kelly along this time, and she was completely worn out.
Okay, someone has brought that up already. The venue could also provide directions, I believe.
And some people in the back had trouble seeing the words in the presentation file.
I believe the projection screen is large enough. Let's test it before the next meeting and make sure it can be seen clearly from the back of the room.
Okay, I will put that into my memo.
Thank you, Yuanxiang. And now, let us move on to the conversation exercise. For the first questions, can Pin help me to answer these questions?
4.
Yes, the answer is 4. Can you repeat after me? Based on your observation, can you point anything out that we can change for the better next time?
Based on your observations, can you point anything out that we can change
And for the second questions, can Hongping help me to answer these questions? Yes, the answer also is 4. Can you repeat after me? But I do believe we have to prepare better equipment for our guest speakers. Thank you. And for the third questions, can Yutong help me to answer these questions? Yes, the answer also is 4. Can you repeat after me? As you notice, it's because sometimes for Dr. Zhou's presentation failed to get set up. Thank you. And for the question number 4, can Yuqing help me to answer this question? Yes. Please repeat after me. Make sure everything is up to date from now on.
Make sure everything is up to date from now on.
Thank you. And for the next question, can Jialing help me to answer this question? Yes, correct. Can you repeat after me? But as we expect more people for our new meeting where we will introduce our new product, I believe there might be potential issues.
As we expect more people for our next meeting where we will introduce our new products, I believe there might be potential issues.
Thank you. And for our next question, can you help me to answer these questions? Yes, it's due to. Can you repeat after me? I think some guests might also have foods. Foods they would prefer or decline due to religious reasons. Thank you. And for the last question, can you help me to answer these questions? Yes, it's when. Can you repeat after me? When we send our invitations next time, we can explicitly ask them if there is anything they cannot eat.
When we send out invitations next time, we can explicitly ask them if there is anything they cannot eat.
Thank you. And next, let us move on to the listening practice. So now, let us listen to the recording.
Listening practice.
Please listen to the following dialogue and answer the questions.
What do the questionnaires say? Ted, do you have the questionnaire results ready?
Yes, I have them right here. We were able to collect results for 55 out of the 58 participants.
Well, does anything in particular stand out?
For most of the items, it seems that our guests were satisfied.
That's welcome news. What did they say about the reception?
The comments were mostly positive. A few of them specifically pointed out that the reception was really professional, despite the rush at opening time.
Good. How about the seating arrangements?
There was one complaint in the comments column. One guest took the wrong seat because the name tags were misread.
Yes, there are bound to be guests who have similar names. When the guests sign in, make sure they know their seat numbers.
Okay, I will pass on the message.
Anything else? Food? Decorations? Anything?
The guests were happy with how the room was laid out and decorated. They said they found the warm atmosphere suitable for the discussion topic.
Okay. Keep this in the records in case they want to book our room again.
Done. Oh, about the food. Some of them only chose so-so for the snacks, but didn't list the reason.
Did you send out messages to them?
Yes, I sent out messages with apologies and asked for feedback. I hope we do get some feedback. I know most of these kinds of follow-up messages tend to get ignored.
I was sure all the refreshments were prepared fresh on that very day. Maybe it's just a matter of personal preferences.
Well, we can't make everyone happy, but we have to keep trying. That's our job.
1. How many questionnaire results did they have? 2. Why did one guest take the wrong seat? 3. What did Ted do to make compensation to guests who chose so-so for the snacks on their comment cards?
After finish listening to the recording, so for the first questions, can Qinghui help me to answer it?
C, 10 had 50%.
Yes, it's C. So for the second questions, can Ziyi help me to answer this? Yes, it's A. And for the final questions, can Mu Xuan help me to answer it? Yes, it's B. So why the question number 1, how many questionnaire results did they have this? You need to choose the C. It's because as you can see the script, Ted has mentioned it, we were able to collect results for 55 out of the 58 participants. So the answer would be C. For the next questions, why did one guest take the wrong seat? And Ted also mentioned it. One guest took the wrong seat because the name tag is red. So the answer would be A. And for the final questions, what did Ted do to make compensation to guests who chose so-so for the snacks on their comment cards? Ted mentioned it, and Ted said, I sent out message with apologies and asked for feedback. So the answer would be B. Next, let us move on to the vocabulary of listening practice. The first vocabulary is questionnaire. Can you all repeat after me? Questionnaire. Yes. The meaning of questionnaire is a list of questions that several people are asked so that information can be collected about something. Here is an example. Ted, do you have the questionnaire results ready? Can everyone help me to read this?
Ted, do you have the questionnaire results ready?
Thank you. And for the next vocabulary is refreshment. Can everyone repeat after me? Refreshment.
Refreshment.
The meaning of refreshment is small amount of food and drink, just like this picture. And here is an example sentence. I was sure all the fresh refreshments were prepared fresh on that very day. Can everyone help me to read this? Yes, thank you. And now let us move on to the activity 2. I will give the floor to Liang to talk about this topic.
Thank you, Jiayong, for giving me the floor. I'm Liang, and today I'll be in charge for activity 2. So please turn to your textbook on page 33.
Reflect on what you have learned from the 4 units of meetings and write down why you think you could be a good meeting facilitator.
So for this activity, the question is, you need to recap what we have learned from Unit 1 to 4. So for Unit 1 about the meeting consultation, here we learn how to prepare for the meeting. Then for this one, we'll make us into a good meeting facilitator because we have already know how to identify the event type. So whether it is a seminar, a conference, a meeting, product launch, or so on. And then we also learn how to, the number of people is important because this could affect the table arrangement and the room selection. And for this one, we can refer to the textbook on the page 12. There is a table on the textbook and suggesting how many people are in the meeting, and based on the number of people, we can make the arrangement for table arrangement and room selection. So, for example, if you want to arrange for a small meeting in the office, like around 8 people, so what arrangement should we use? According to the table, we can use a U-shaped room arrangement and with the compact event room. And if you want to organize a big seminar, like above more than 300 people, then maybe we can use the theater arrangement and with the grand meeting hall. So the table is very useful. for you to have the best combination of the number of people in the meeting. And for unit number 2, the pre-meeting arrangement. Here we have learned how to prepare for a checklist for the meeting. And the checklist is important for a good meeting facilitator because it is a reminder of what we have to do so that we don't miss out any important tasks. So for a good checklist, we should always identify the purpose of the meeting, prepare an agenda, select participants, decide the venue, and then we send invitation to the participants, and finally confirm the arrival of them. And for unit number 3 about troubleshooting, that is, we have to anticipate the problems and prepare for the solutions. A good meeting facilitator should always list out all the possible problems that might happen during the meeting, and then we prepare in advance for the solution, so that we can have a smooth meeting as possible. So I've taken 2 examples from the textbook. The first one is fight corruption, and this will happen regularly. So for the solution is that we always have to save an extra copy before the meeting. And another problem is the equipment malfunction. So we have to always conduct a run-through testing before the meeting. And then for the 4th unit about the post-meeting evaluation, here we learn how to collect feedback for future improvement. There are 3 methods that we can use to collect the feedback. The first one is through the evaluation form. The second, we observe the attendees' response. And then the third one is to learn from mistakes. So after we collect the feedback, we make the evaluation and we make the future improvement so that we can change for the better next time. So to sum up everything what we have learned today, for the 4 units, we have learned to prepare for meeting, the checklist, anticipate problems and prepare for solutions, and then collect the feedback for future improvement. All these skills that we acquire definitely will make us a good meeting facilitator. And that's the end of my presentation for today, and I hope you all will have a better understanding about this topic. And now I would like to give the floor to Yihua to continue the next part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks for giving the floor. And today, I'm going to talk about high and low context culture. From the first topic, we know the basic of high and low context culture. Then we have to learn the more level of a high and low context culture. So what's the difference? First of all, I want to show you a video.
The main difference between individualistic and collectivist cultures concerns responsibility. In individualistic cultures, people are responsible for themselves. People are free to pursue their own lives with as little interference as possible from outside. Individual rights and equality in the law, along with privacy, are essential features of these kinds of cultures. Every single individual is sovereign to themselves, and they are only obstructed when they interfere with the sovereignty of others. In collective cultures, the well-being of the group is given priority over the individuals that belong to them. In collective cultures, the group is responsible for the actions of the individual, as well as their safety and welfare.
So after we finish the video, we know it. What's the difference we have a part of individualism and collectivism? So let me tell you what's the difference about collectivism and individualism. So first of all, we show about the collectivism. First is individuals define themselves in relation to others. And for individualism is being dependent upon others is often considered shameful or embarrassing. So the second part is for collectivism is decisions are based on what is best for the group, is for group. And for the individualism is independence is highly valued. The third part is working as a group and supporting others is essential. But for individualism is individual rights take center stage. The first part is greater emphasis is placed on common goals than on individuals' pursuits. But for individualism, is people often place a greater emphasis on standing on out of being unique. So we can learn what's the difference. For collectivism, we can have a conclusion just for high context culture. And for individualism, we can say it is low context culture. Okay? So let me make a conclusion. For this meeting, we got the scenario one, and we learned a lot of vocabulary from this meeting. And we know that the preparation exercise and listening practice. And now we have known the high and low context cultures, the second level of individualism and collectivism. This is different. We have to make a conclusion. This is what we learned today. So this is our references. Our vocabulary is come from this website. Activity 2 is come from this website. So high and low context culture will come from this website. Let me tell you about our job assignment. So for our meeting, Zhu Zhang prepares vocabulary, scenario 2, preposition exercise, listening practice. And Liang prepares scenario 2, activity 2, PPT design, and proofread. And Zhang Yinhua prepares high and low context culture, conclusion, references, inside story, and job assignment. So let me tell you about our inside story. For the first time, we did a rehearsal online. It's on December. No, November 20, on 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We use online because we can get together, so we are very busy. So we did the first time at online. So another time we did a second rehearsal. It's still on November 28th. It's the time still at 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock at p.m. So you can see we did the second time for the rehearsal. We are very happy because we think it is their fluency for speech. So you can see the smiles very happy. So now it's time for break time. And we will come back at 2:20. Thanks for listening.
Amazing.
们有空中，等一下怎么给 comments 的顺序？可以 announce 一下 ，officially announce the order。
英文哈，讲讲。
Okay, everyone, because during the comments time, we will start from group number 4. Then we'll back to 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll come back to 1 and 2. So the group 4 will start the connectors.
Is that alright with everyone?
Is that alright with everyone?
Yes.
Check with them.
Yeah, we will
If they
start
are
with
fine, then we will
number
follow.
4. Thank you. So we come back later.
Thank you.
因为我们这是我们双数，也不关单数，所以单数就先不管，因为我们上课的。有兴趣吗？有兴趣，好，那我们就看说，我刚好看礼拜二，这一堂这间教室都是空的，所以说到礼拜二这间都没问题。那就看老师时间又不 OK， 那主要是看你们有没有人选其他的课，因为只要有一个人不行就都不能调，对，有吗？如果没有的话，就礼拜二的课，那我是说礼拜二的7、8节前面呢，比如说5、6节之类的，5、6节可以吗？对不对？比如说我们叫到礼拜2、5、6，然后7、8去上电影课，可以这样。有吗？你们有人有什么其他的课吗？主要是看有没有啊，如果没有的话就没有啊。然后你们像这个课，翻译、写作跟会议这3个是必选修，所以你们一定要选，对，对吧？有啊，还有啊，那是必选修，所以就是你们还要，他们是挂选修的学分，但是你们要去选，每个人都要去选，所以你们要把那个学分选进来。对，就是你那个我们今天上的这个课它是必选修，只是它是挂在选修的学分里面的必修，所以它还是要修的。对。
打中哎。
Okay, it's our comment time. So let's welcome the group 4 for the comment. Welcome group 4.
I'm Chen from Group 4. I think Group 3 did a great job today. All of you have a good pronunciation. And I want to give comments to Jiayong and Yifan. Jiayong, I think in the part of listening practice, you can add a topic that we can know what this listening is talking about. Yifan, I think before you play the video, you can check if everything is ready, so the audience will not wait. And please
you get the audience okay. And I think they can make them feel respected. But the point of the topic of scenario, I think it can be bigger and intense after. And as for Yuan, it is good for you to use the table from the previous unit, and it is good to extend to everyone. And you could be familiar with the conversation parts next time. And as for the high and low context culture, I think the questions that may be asked in the family gathering that are kind of how's your school performance and do you have any plans for future or something like that? I think it is kind of annoying to me. Then I will give the floor to.
Sorry to interrupt. When I say your personal reflection on individualism and collectivism, I was just giving you an example. And you need to share your own experience. For example, last week, when not we, your own personal experience. For example, I ran into my neighbor last week in the elevator. She asked me, "Are you married?" And I find it very annoying. Or, "Do you have children?" "Oh, girls, when are you going to have sons?" Your own experience, not just something in general or just quoting from me. Stop using my example. Use your own. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Yes or no? Do you copy? Yes or no?
Roger that.
Roger that or not? Yes.
Okay, I think last week I went home and my neighbor just asked me, "Oh, why do you come back home so frequently?" And I think that's not your business. Because that's my own intention. Yeah, I will give you a floor to each.
Hello, I am Yucheng from Group 4. And first, I think Group 3 did a good job. And first, I want to talk to Jiayong. I think you just a little bit too nervous, and so you speak too fast. I think you can slow down your speed. And as for Yuanxiang, I think you are good at your memory. And I think I wonder whether there were typography errors in page 20. Participants. And in a high and low context culture, in my opinion, I think we make the decision to connect it to our parents. Like I chose the college, but in the American society, they decision on their own. So this is my opinion, and I will give the floor to Group 5. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Liang from Group 5, and now I'm going to give some comments to Group 4, Group 3.
First is 加油. I think in the preposition exercise, the last questions, the answer is when, but I think when is not a preposition. Yes. And can you turn to page 20? No. And here, the title, I think you have a misspelling of questionnaire. Rules and the second page is also.
By the way, it's not questionnaire, it's questionnaire. Since you are correcting this one.
Thank you. And then is 原想. I think you did a good job. Is that you use the animations to present and will not make the page too crowded to see. And also you speak smoothly today and also use your own words to present. I think it's very good. The last presenter is Yihua. I think you can save the video in advance and don't search it when presenting. And also just use the points to show where you want to say and don't use it to point the part you don't want to say. And it will make the audience very distracted. And it's my comments to group 3, and now I'm going to give the floor to Lin Ziyi.
I'm Ziyi from group 5, and now I'm going to give my comment to group 3. And in Jiayong's part, I think I like the way you show the key sentence in listening part, and you also tell us and explain to us which answer we need to choose and why we need to choose it for the correct answer. And I think your speed is very good, but sometimes you have some unnatural pauses, so I think you can practice more to improve it next time. And next is about Yuanxiang's part. I like your speed, it's very smoothly, but sometimes I think you can slow down your speed or use vocal variety to emphasize the important part you want to say. And finally, it's about Yihua's part. You had a strong eye contact with audience and the speed was appropriate. And I also noticed the page 35 you like another blanket. And this is the end of my comments. I'm going to give the floor to Qinghui.
Thanks for giving me the floor. I'm Qinghui from Group 5. I'm going to give the comments to Group 3. For Jiayong, in the scenario 1 vocabulary part, the vocabulary you use capitalized.
Okay, go to the front.
I think we need to change the vocabulary. And I like your conversation with Yuanxiang. It's full of tonation. And the sentence 言辞 mentioned, the when is not preposition, it's conjunction, pronoun, or adverb. I like your listening part. You explain every answer and show every question when you are discuss the answer. For Yuanxiang, in page 28, I think the form you can change to the next page because the form is too small and it's crowded for the information. So you can change to the next page. Besides that, I like your whole presentation. because you are smoothly and familiar with your part, and use your own word to explain to us. For 易话, same as the Yanzi and Ziyi mentioned. Maybe next time, if you want to show the video, you can use the hyperlink. The PowerPoint have hyperlink you can use. And in the low context culture, you didn't show the bracket, you have to correct it also. And in this page, I think you have too many lists, so maybe next time you can mark the point with red, so next time we can easily follow up with your presentation. And for the example of my collectivism, I think because when I was studying in junior high school, I have a harsh teacher, and she liked to use a collective punishment. For example, when only few students didn't hand out their homework, but maybe at that day or that week, the whole classes have to be grounded. They cannot have break time. We cannot have a break time. And this is my end of comment. I'm going to give the floor to Mongshan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mongshan from Group 5. And thanks for Group 3. Give us the presentation. And then I will give some comments for Jiao. Your speed can slow down and that not clear about your content. And like this, we say on page 19, the end of questionnaire. Okay. Of listening practice 1 is lost. And for Liang, can reduce the numbers of times you tend to look at PPT. Yeah. And you speak fluently. And for 易话, you can prepare a video in advance next time. And the page 35, and the culture of low context cover is missing. Yeah. And you can make a separate page to make a conclusion next time. Yeah. And experience. My experience of collective is maybe in Chinese New Year, my family will ask me, what will you do in the future, or do you want to do something or what? And I will feel annoyed because I want to expect it by myself. Yes. And then this is our end of comments, and I will give the floor to Group 6.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Johnny from Group 6. Thank you, Group 5, for giving me the floor. I'm going to give some comments or suggestions for Group 3. As for Jiao's part, at the first in the content, I think you will be a little nervous and is not that familiar with your content, so you may just look at the PPT and tell us some posts, just like, this is for this part is like this, and then the just other groups just mentioned that you will have the capitalize in vocabulary part, and now you are just corrected. And I just noticed that when you call others to answer your questions, you say maybe in the preposition part, you want them to answer one of the questions. You say, could you please answer the questions? Could you please answer these questions? But he or she just answer one question, so maybe you can notice that about the S in the end. And when you say, can you, blah, 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 is a question. So maybe you should change your tone, like, can you answer a question? Not just can you answer a question, like this. And I like your good memory with Liang in conversation part. You just like remember all the contents about it. And as the part for Yuanxiang, I like your way to tell us about activity 2 because you just think about Unit 1 to Unit 4, lots of content for us. But here's, I just noticed that when you have a conversation with Jiayong, there's a word you have the wrong pronunciation. Product. You say product is product. Okay. And the next one is another suggestion for you is you speak a little too fast because you have lots of content on your PPT, so I cannot really read all of the contents on your PPT and you just say it and that understand. So you can give us much time. And next one for Yihua. As other group just mentioned about the on page 35, the word low context culture just missed the word, and now you just put on it. And last time I have given you the suggestions that you can prepare the video first, but this time you still forget to do it. So next time, please remember to prepare it first. And all the contents on your PPT slides, if the word is too small, so maybe you can put it bigger, especially the inside story. I just look at the picture, but I can't really understand when or what time, what did you do, because the word is too small. And there's one more suggestions is if you want to show us the video, you may choose one of it is that give you lots of advantages. Because when you put on this video, I cannot really understand what you want to talk about. Or maybe you can just tell us what is going on and you put on the video. And after the video, you just list the things in the video, but you didn't just put the highlights or the points. So next time, maybe you can put the main points that we can really understand. And to my appearance, to my experiences about the personal individualism experiences is there's a system that I think everyone, most of you will use it like the GPS. You can use in your smartphone and others can know where you are. It's like they can know your location, but I don't really like this one because sometimes it's just for me. For my family, they want to know whether I'm safe or not. But sometimes they will just maybe talking to me and say, where you go to Guangnan? Where you blah, blah, blah. But I think this is just for my safety, not for you to understand what I'm going to do now or 10 minutes ago, like that. And this is all my comments, suggestions, and experiences. Now I'm going to give the floor to Long-Term.
Hello everyone, I'm Long-Term from Brazil, and I will give some comment to Yuanxiang. First, I like your activity part, and you quickly show out each unit of each unit main point, and clearly explain how to be a good meeting facilitator, step by step. Okay. And I think this is helpful for everyone in the future. And I believe you paid a lot of time to collect the information of each unit. And they make you the process is very smooth and don't have any wrong connection of each unit. And my suggestion is you can slow down your speech and don't be nervous. And this is the end of my comment. I want to give the floor to Xinwei.
Okay, I'm Xinwei from Group 6. And I think you all did a great job today, but there are some suggestions that I want to give you.
First, Jiayong, I think you have enhanced your confidence a lot compared to the last time, but you are still a little bit nervous. For example, you misread some words on the PowerPoint, like next, you misread new, like this. And as for Yuanxiang, I think you did a great job and you delivered the speech at a well-controlled pace, which is very good. So finally is Yihua. There's some minor mistake on your PowerPoint. I think it's on the slides of reference. The fonts of the size of the font are not identical. You can go to that page reference. And the link of activity 2 is italic, right? I think it's italic. Yes. And but the number 1. Overall, this page are not identical. And the font are italic. No, italic. Do you want to change it? Activity 2 and yeah. And activity 2. The link of activity 2. Yes, and these are minor mistakes on your PowerPoint. And this is the end of my comments. And I will give the floor to Inro.
Thanks for giving me the floor, Xinwei. I'm Inro. And first, you all did a great job, and I'd like to have some comments and suggestions to you. And first is Jiayong. You have good eye contact with the audience, and you explain the listening practice well. And one suggestion is that on page 19, and I think, can you show the answer? I think you can put the answer before the questions because this is more clear. And you can make the answer more bigger so that the audience can see clearly. And like Qinghui, it's more bigger. Okay, thank you. And like Qinghui mentioned, one big problem is that you capitalize the letters of the vocabularies in scenario 1. And that this is the problem you need to pay attention to. And next is Yuanxiang. You explain the activity to clear and smooth. And one problem is you need to slow down your speed and have more eye contact with the audience. And next is Yihua. You have good gestures and eye contact with the audience, but sometimes your gestures are too much. And I think like the topic we present, troubleshooting, you need to have precautions like prepare the videos in advance or open the website so that, and one more thing is you need to tell the audience to wait a minute because of the video problem instead of letting them wait and feel confused. So, and you really need to stand still during the meeting. And I like to share my own experience is that on Chinese New Year or some holidays, when we have family gatherings or we meet some relatives, and they all like to ask me, "Oh, you're so tall. How tall are you?" But I not really like my height, so I think this question is a little bit annoying. So this is my own experience, and I'll give the floor to Group 7.
Thank you for giving the floor. Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 7. I'm Yan. First, I want to thank Group 3 for giving us an extraordinary presentation. Thank you. First, I'd like to give some suggestions for Jiayong. It's good that you have vocal variety and you did change the name to yourself, but you have to pay attention. You need to add some gesture, maybe make the conversation more vivid. And as for Liang, sorry, I think you did a great job. Look, your part is well organized, and I don't see any obvious mistakes. And as for Yihua, sorry again. It seems that you have trouble with playing the video. But the first thing you have to do is you have to inform the audience what is going on. Maybe you have to say sorry. I think that we got some problem with the videos, so please give us some time to figure out what is happening, and then we just try to figure out what the problem is. And also, can you turn the page to the high and low context chart? It's good that you use the chat to point out the main point for high and low content cultures. Maybe you can take the suggestions from teacher that she just mentioned that you can use the animation to make your main points. To show what I said one yes. And I want to share my personal experience for the high and low content culture. I think I'm okay with the family gathering. May I ask some questions that may be offense, but I think I was okay with them. But sometimes I would easily get annoyed about the comfort zone, because sometimes we were in the elevator that is maybe already crowded, and someone just step into it and make the elevator more crowded, and I would just, oh my gosh, so, and that is my personal experience. Now, I'm giving the floor to sorry.
Thanks, Liang, for the comments, and thanks Group 3 for the presentation. And I think all of you are very fluently in the speech, but first I want to start off with Jiayong. Jiayong has a little problem, is that she often repeats herself if a sentence goes wrong. He tried to convey something and it goes wrong. And I think it's very distracting for me, but that's happened like few times, like 1 or 3 times, but when I heard it, I'm a little off track. And then next, I want to move on to Yuanxiang. Yuanxiang is very good, awesome, amazing, but there's a little problem too. Is that Yuanxiang often has vocal variety in his speech, like this, like that, like I just did, yes. And in the conversation, just few times, yeah. But again, it throws me off track, yes. And in the conversation part with like Jiang and Yuanxiang, I found instead of listening to their speech, I am looking at their eyes. I saw them like looking at the PPT like very often, like. But I know that just in this scenario, there's a lot of words to remember. But I think again, it is like better to memorize the sentence from the PowerPoint. Yes. And next, I want to move on to the start of the show. Yihua. Yes. And I think that it's very good you incorporate the video into your presentation. But after looking at the slide, I think that you basically what's in the slide and what's in the video is the same, are the same, yes. So I think maybe try to make your speech more vividly instead of putting a video, or just let the video do the work. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. And right now I want to move on to my personal experiences in the individualism and collectivism. I think my personal experience is that I often get asked, what are you going to do in the future? How much are you going to make in the future? And when I was younger, I often get triggered by this experience by this question, because I think there is still a lot of time ahead of me, and I would always be like, why are you asking me this, especially from my elders. But as I grow older, I often feel like it is important to talk to them about this, and like after in this recent month, I often start to sit down and talk with them to talk about what I'm going to do in the future. And I think they make some very great advice for me and for my future. And I think I will always thank them, because right now I don't get uncomfortable in this kind of situation anymore. Yes, and that's what I'm trying to say. And this is the end of my comments. Now I'll give the floor to Leo Wangsen.
Thanks for giving me the floor. I'm Leo Wangsen. I think Group 3 did a great job. Their voice is loud enough and they speak fluently, which means they are well prepared. For Yuanxiang's part, he gave us a very clear introduction of the activity 2, so I can understand the question easily. But you sometimes have some unnatural poses. And next one is Jiayong. You did a great job on the vocabulary part. I like the way you explain the vocabulary. But sometimes I can't understand what you're going to say because your speed is a little bit too fast. And the last one is Yihua. My suggestion is if you avoid some distracting mannerism during your speech, your presentation will be better. And as for my personal experience of collectivism, when last year's of New Year's Eve, my relatives just come back at home and ask me about like, do I have a girlfriend or not? And at that time, I just feel like a little bit offended. And this is all my comments and personal experience. Now I'm going to give the floor to Group 1.
Good afternoon. My name is Han Jimmy from Group 1, and thanks for Group 3 giving us a good presentation. I think it was allowed, and I would like to give Yuanxiang some comments. He used his own words to explain his part, but he had pay attention to his standing position, because he had sometimes slightly blocks the people here. And next, I will talk about the collective experience for me is that if when people want to go to the restroom and the rest of his friends or her friends will go together. And this is my comment. I will give the floor to Pei.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank Jimin for giving the floor. And generally, I think Group 3 did a great job on today's presentation, but I do still have some suggestions. First is for Jiayong. Yeah. From my opinion, before the presentation moves on to the vocabulary of listening script, guiding the audience to the audio script on textbook first will be better. And as for Yuanxiang, I think there is a wrong pronunciation, which is the word theater. You need
on activity 2, Unit 1, and I think it sounds like traitor to me. And I think it's not about the accent. Your accent is totally acceptable. Yeah. And last, for my own experience of collectivism is that one thing annoying me the most is about my responsibility for my younger sister when I was a child. Sometimes they make mistakes and the adults will blame me for the bad influence. The adults always seems the children as one group, and the older one is always to be blamed, even though it's nothing to do with me. Yeah, and that's all for today's comments. And now I'm giving the floor to Louis.
That's a very good example of personal experience of collectivism.
Hi, I'm Louis. First, group 3 did a great job, so I'm going to give comments on each presenters. First, Jiayong seemed a little bit nervous, but I think your speech is still fluent. But on page 25, the picture, page 25, yeah, I think the picture should be larger because it's not clear enough. And as for Yuanxiang, I love your part of activity 2. You text clear and understandable, but I just like yeah, sorry. Pei just mentioned that I heard there's a one word you mispronounced. The word theater, yes, you pronounced like teacher, yes. And as for Yihua, you should hyperlink the video to avoid keeping your audience waiting for you to research. And also, like Yanting just mentioned, on page 35, there's too much information showing up at the same time. So you should let them show up according to the order you would talk about and one by one. And as for my personal experience of collectivism, when I come back to my hometown, my grandmother always she doesn't say to me directly, but she just like murmured beside me. She always said that, wow, you're going to graduate next year and then you are going to have a great job like that. So that would stress me a lot, and also I felt annoying. Yes, and that's my comment and experience. So I'm going to give the floor to Hongping.
Good afternoon, I'm Hongping. I think we three all do a great job, but I still want to give some suggestions. In the page 7, on page 7, there is the wrong page number. Here should be 54. And on the page 28, Yuanxiang has a wrong pronunciation. The word seminar should be called seminar instead of seminar. And on page 35, it just mentioned the part of low context culture should be bracket. And this is the end of my comment. And I will talk about my experience. And my relative always asks me, where are you studying or what do you want to do in the future? I think it's annoying me because I think it's private and I don't want to share with everyone. And this is the end of my experience. I will give the floor to group 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 2, and I'm Jali. First, I want to thank Group 3 for their presentation. I think they did a great job there. Their voice is all clear to be heard, and they all have vocal variety. And I have some suggestions for Jiayong and Yihua. First is Jiayong. I think maybe due to nervousness, you started your presentation a little bit too fast. So I can't quite understand what you're talking about. So I think maybe next time you should rehearse more so you won't be so nervous about your presentation. And the next one is Yihua. I think overall you did a great job on your presentation, but you still constantly moving your body like this. So I think that is a little bit distracting. So you should maybe pay more attention to that. And my own experience about individualism is quite similar as Inro just mentioned. Maybe due to my height, my maybe new friends or my relatives would ask, "Oh, you're so tall. You must be good at basketball or sports." So I think that is annoying. Just because I'm tall doesn't mean I'm good at sports. So please stop asking me the same question. So this is my experience. I'll give the floor to Yuto.
Good afternoon, I'm Rito. First, Group 3, they all did a great job, and I have some suggestions for them. For Jiayong, page 10. First sentence, you didn't add a question mark. You didn't. Okay. And Liang, he used his own way. He used his own way to explain his content, and it's very clear. But the speed is a bit too fast. You can slow down next time so that we can understand more clear. And as for Yihua, you can prepare your video before you start your presentation. And on page 35, you can highlight a point. You can highlight a point. And this is my comment for them. And now I want to talk about my personal experience. My aunt, once she asked my weight because her daughter is thinner than me, so she asked my weight. But I think it's very impolite. I have not seen her for a long time. She has no qualified to judge me. So I think it's very annoying. And it is my experience. I will give floor to Yuqi.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Yuqi, and thank Group 3 for giving us a great presentation. I had some comments for you. And first is Jiayong. You have a good vocal variety when you speak conversation with your but in a preposition practice, I think the when is the conjunction not a preposition, and you already corrected. And for Yuanxiang, you give us a perfect conclusion in these 4 units and make it clearly to understand. But on page 29, when you are a speak participant, you miss to read this participant and you just keep continuing to the next part. Yes. And in your presentation, you have some unwanted words like and maybe you can notice this. And for Yihua, just like others said, you have to prepare your video before your presentation and it will be better. And on page 35, and I think the word is a little bit small, maybe you can make it larger and add some animation to make us see more clearly. Yeah, and this is my comment. And I will talk about my experience about collectivism. And yesterday, when I meet my two neighborhood in elevators, they just say that, oh, I think you already graduated from college, right? Or what is your work now? But actually, I didn't graduate from college, and they just directly asked that question to me. That makes me confused and think why you just so.
Could you hurry up? Finish your comments.
This makes me confused, and this is my comment. I'm looking forward to doing.
Hi, I'm Jenny from Group 2, and I have some suggestions for Yuan and Jiayong. First, I think their speech are a little bit too fast, and maybe you can slow down your speech next time. And Jiayong, I think you is like this, really get nervous, and Yuan, I think in your part is very you smoothly and you can clearly make us understand what you're talking about. And finally, in Yihua, I think just like other classmates mentioned, you need to prepare your video before you show us. And in your part, your PPT part, I think you should point out the main point or change the word form and not keep moving your body when you are giving a presentation. And finally, I want to share my own experience in collectively. Every time I came back to Taipei, and I had a neighbor, and she's also my mom's friend. And every time she saw me, and she want to talking with me, but it made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And she will always say the same sentence when she see me, and she will say, she will say, 你毕业了吗之类的 and I will say, could you please just go away? And this made me feel annoyed. And it is all our comments, and I will give the floor back to Group 3.
Thanks for giving us the floor. So just give us 30 seconds. I would like to make a feedback, and I think everyone has mentioned have to make a video properly, and I think your comments is very valuable. I will notice that, and then I'll give the floor to Jiayong.
Thank you for giving me the floor, and thank you everyone's comments. And I know that my speed is quite fast, but actually this is my normal speed, and not because of nervous or something. But I will try to slow down this time. And also the wrong spelling or some mistake, and I will notice it, and I will take more care about it this time. And now I'll give the floor to Liang.
Hi, thank you for giving me the floor, Liang. I know the speed is fast, but because running out of time, I will improve my speed to speak slower next time. And that's all. And now,
Can you give us the best commentator next week? Because people are coming to use this classroom. We need to.
okay.
Or you just announce it without making a routine.
Okay. The best commentators we give to group number 7.
Best comment, best presenter.
Can you come up and
Just claim your prize,
claim your prize?
and then we can call it better.
That's all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for today's lesson? If not, then let's call it a day. I'll see you next week. Thank you.
老师，龙门，关带。你要不要进来？会有小心。刚好30分。